Hello everyone, welcome to another session on Python for data science. Today we'll discuss a new topic called as decorators. So the concept behind decorators is fairly simple. But before discussing that, we'll have a bit of discussion on functions, because essentially what decorators are, just to give a one-line definition of decorators. What basically decorators are wrappers around functions. Okay, so it's like sort of a function of a function. So you basically have a function which could do a bunch of things. So what decorators are sort of, it wraps it with another function, right? So we'll just look into a bit more on functions before we actually go into decorators. Okay. So what basically are functions are one. So in Python, functions are sort of called as first class. So why do they basically call it first class elements? Because you can easily you can call a function inside another function, so it can be passed as a parameter to another function. Okay, it can also return a function. Yeah, so if this is a bit difficult to follow, let me just type it out. So you can basically define a function, okay, inside another function. This is one. So you can basically define a function inside another function. The other one is function can be passed as parameter to another function. You can basically pass a function as a parameter to another function. Parameter is nothing but your arguments. Third one is function can also return. We basically have a function in that, so you would have return statements associated with the functions, right? Now basically what you can do with this is you can basically return another function as well. Right? So decorator is basically, now coming back to actual decorator. Decorator is basically a function that takes a function as its only parameter, right? So basically decorator is a function. Okay, decorator is a function that takes function as its only parameter, and it basically returns one. So it's sort of a combination of all of these. This is what basically a decorator is. Sort of that wrapper, this thing which we talked about in the beginning. This is what basically a decorator is. So we'll just look at few examples. Where we actually used decorators, and look at few code examples where we actually use decorators. Okay. So let's say this is this. So say I suppose this is my decorator. Right, it's basically a function, right, that takes a function, okay, as its only argument. Argument, parameter all mean the same thing, and it basically returns a function as well. Now this is where the wrapper, right, so this is where the wrapper is happening. So this is print before calling the function. So this is before calling the function. Now what you're doing is now is where you're calling the function. You can just add it. So basically why we are adding these print statements is just for just figuring out what is happening. So this is before, after. Now basically what we're doing, we are returning, takes a function. What is the return? It just returns a function, right? Now we write another function. So here we are just writing, I don't know, just very simple hello world, right? So this is done. This is done right now. Now you basically have one decorator function. You basically have a decorator, okay, which takes Yeah, decorator is nothing but a function which takes a function as its only argument, and it also returns a function. So let's call it. How do you call it? Is say my underscore decorator. My underscore decorator is basically how I call it, and this is a function. You just call a function, right? Since I have a lot of print statements over there, since I have a lot of print statements inside this, that's why it's becoming helpful. So as you can see in this, so you're just calling this a def wrapper inside the wrapper. So first, before calling the function, right? So next is after calling the function. Next, you basically have a wrapper also as well. So this is where you're returning. This is how it is. Now in Python, there is actually sort of a shortcut. So you basically represent decorators using your at symbol. Okay. So whenever you use your at symbol, you basically sort of represent your decorators. So an example, we can take the same code over here as well. Same code over here as well. So you basically have your wrapper. Now you basically what you do is you just you just add your at. Okay. So after you add your at, now you basically what you do is you basically sort of add your the function. The function you just call my underscore decorator. So what it basically does is it sort of this one, this particular line. So when you run this, so this is what this basically indicates. Okay. Right. So you need not have a separate line which basically tells it. So when you just automatically run it, it gets executed. Okay. So this is basically how do you call it. The first and the foremost is understand what is a decorator. Decorator, in very simplistic terms, is basically a function. Okay, that takes a function and returns a function. So you have a whole lot of functions over there. So how do you call it? It's sort of a wrapper. Okay, so you're calling a function, so you can't just directly get its output. Right. So when you're returning a function, obviously you can't return the same thing again. So you basically wrap it up. So you basically have a wrapper. So you basically have a wrapper around it. Okay. Next is my decorator. So that's how you call it. Right? So you basically have a my underscore decorator and you call the function. So in this function, you just call it hello. So how do you call it? How do you call it is just do my underscore decorator hello. So you're calling a function, normal function calling. Now in Python, there is a sort of shorthand notation for calling your decorators. It's nothing but usage of at, right? So whenever you use at in your this thing, it basically means it's a decorator. Sort of you're calling a function. So whenever you write at underscore my decorator, you need not call it separately. That automatically does it for you. So you basically need to write your at my underscore decorator before your def hello. Okay. And this you automatically get this. So yeah, so this is a very short session on decorators. Thank you guys. We'll again meet in the next video.